We all search for that calmness of soul whereby we might cope with the stresses of life in a better way. Of course, those stresses affect us in so many different areas of our life. Everybody worries about getting enough sleep. Some worry about the amount of sleep. Others worry that they wake insufficiently refreshed, renewed to meet the day. This non-restorative sleep can become anyone's stress. But if you have other problems on top of the sleep problems, other problems, you've got aches and pains in your back, your neck, your legs, you're worried about the future, you're receiving treatment for various ailments, there's been upheaval in your relationships, or you're going through a time of great loss, you'll know how difficult it can be not only to sleep properly, but to adapt to these huge issues of our life. According to a study done in America, the American Sleep Foundation, the average work day, on average, is 9 hours and 28 minutes. But the average sleep time is 6 hours, 55 minutes. Many have inconsistent work hours and many periods of non-restorative sleep. So fatigue can become a vexing stress, manifesting itself in physical fatigue and in that other insidious experience of mental fatigue. Unrested sleep, worry, fatigue can be only one segment of a much larger cartwheel of stress that can invade our lives without invitation. And where we are uneducated in stress management, we can become like Camus' myth of Sisyphus, which I've referred to many times. But that story, that myth, has a fresh telling for me in Peter Watson's large book, which is called The Age of Atheists. On page 349, no less, he retells the plight of Sisyphus and how the various misfortunes has condemned him forever, to push a large stone up to the top of the hill, see it roll down the hill, only then to go down and roll it up again. It is written as a metaphor of the kind of burdensome life we all have, and tiresome without relief, that the author points us also to Camus' insight into the human situation, the human existence. That however bleak our fate, however eternal the burden, however dreadful the ordeal, there will always be a breathing space. And that is what happiness is. And that is what freedom is, that breathing space. Creating for ourselves brief moments of respite. So as the boulder bounces down the hill, metaphorically speaking, we have then a few moments of recuperative respite as we watch it before we have to take hold of it again. Not much, you might say, but It is as an elongated metaphor. We see we are not entirely, exclusively, or exactingly tied into the task, but we're given those spaces of recuperation. So the topic of this address today is the psychological stresses we all have and the relevance of faith, your adaptive capacity and your enhancement. And you won't be surprised to know I'm going to take it in 4 parts. So first, recognizing the psychological stress. There is nothing more important in your life than listening to your story. The story. Not only the story, but the interpretation that you put on your story. And then the emotional loading or the feelings that pervade your story. The feelings, the emotions, the pleasure and the pain, the resentment and the regret, the emptiness and the elation. How you encounter the stresses of your life. How you adapt to them. How you strive to enhance your life, enlarge your soul, and strengthen the human spirit. Is there anything more important? Psychological stress occurs when the demands exceed the capacity to adapt. When the size and complexity of the tasks exceed your capacity to cope. Psychological stress occurs when your perception of yourself is somehow threatened as you see yourself as inferior, inadequate, or indecisive. Psychological stress occurs when social anxiety runs over your social comfort and your social confidence. Psychological stress. It occurs in the train of loss. The loss of a significant person, the loss of a valued object, the loss of your independence and your social competence, the loss of your security about the future, the loss of control of your emotions, your behavior, your composure, your dignity. There is psychological stress. It can be fluttering and filtering through every day, or it can begin to become a considerably larger concern where it becomes a component in various diseases of your body and mind. One study showed a 50% increase in heart disease associated with high levels of work stress. Induced stress in animals showed a stronger incidence for the growth of tumors, the growth of cancers. But those studies have not been fully replicated amongst humans. That's still being studied. How much stress contributes to our cancers and to what follows. But after the development of so many of our conditions, regardless of the causes, psychological stress becomes a major factor in the management of the condition, in adaptation to the continuing realities, in the learning how to contain your anxieties associated with that stress, its treatment, and the processes of recovery. So there it is to recognize some of the psychological stresses that are part of our life. I come to part 2, where I speak now about our adaptive capacities. I think we all know people who have difficulty adapting to change in their life or change around them. I think many of us can recognize when we ourselves are having difficulty adapting to some issue affecting us in our life. We make mistakes. Or we become part of the mistakes ourselves, and we can't move on. We can't let it go. The mistake becomes an overriding issue for us. We see people and their achievements, and we don't like what we see. We can't accept that they're perhaps different from us or better than we are. We can't adapt to the reality of the other person. And we have then ceased to listen to St. Paul's words, his proactive statement in that great poem where he speaks of how human relations might be. He says, love keeps no score of wrongs, does not gloat when someone slips or loses her way, tries to focus on what is the good, the true, and the beautiful. In our time, when we cannot adjust to what we have become, cannot find the real value in ourselves, it is as if we've never heard of Paul Tillich's famous address called "You Are Accepted." Often we have great difficulty believing that we are accepted. We adapt when we face the realities, when we rally our energy, when we recover the best attitude, when we renew our direction, or if a new direction is necessary, when we start to take a step in that new direction. Adapting means we get our coping skills together, we call on the assistance of other key people, we're open to the resources that are given to us, the resources that are around us. The other day I was called to give an address on Dante's Inferno, Dante's journey into hell. I've spoken about it here. Dante awoke and realized that he was in a dreadful place in his life. His world was a world on its way to hell. But he didn't know how to cope with it, didn't know which way to turn. Then out of nowhere, as often happens with us, help stood there in front of him. There was Virgil to act as his guide, to be his source of encouragement, his therapist, to accompany him on his pathway through all the experiences of hell, on his way, as it were, to the idea of paradise. And after some introductory words, Virgil says to Dante, "You know, listen to me, because if you will trust me, I will be your guide, and I will take you on this journey out of hell, through deep places of horror and pain, where the dead cry to die again. We will go beyond that to another place." And Dante looks at him and said, "Good poet, dear man, then escort me, lead me through these worlds you describe." And so Dante wrote, he moved on, and I followed close behind. A positive way to adapt is to know you have a reliable guide who knows the way, who can point the way, who can take you along the way. I come to the third part today. The belief, the faith, that there is a way ahead. Faith, it's an energy. There is the energy of faith, and that energy is opening up a pathway for you. Without a belief in that pathway, we remain stuck, we remain lost or frightened, and without a guide out of Dante's Forest. The energy of faith reminds us of the givens of life. The things we did nothing to obtain, they're just given. They're there for us. And what are those givens? Inspiration, courage, healing, memory, mystery. The energy of faith reminds us of the value of our rituals, the rituals of renewal, the rituals, for example, of coming to this place for our recovery, or the new word that I've put together, our reshapolescence, reshaping our life. That period of our life between adolescence and obsolescence is where we reshape our life, reshapolescence. The energy of faith takes us through that reshaping of our life. Without that reshaping, we remain stuck. The energy of faith points us to the process of integrating our basic adapting that we know of day by day into a bigger picture, into the larger scene, into the purpose of surely a good cause. The New Testament story that you heard today, Jesus calming the storm, has been taken as a literal miracle instead of a metaphor of great teaching. It has been taken sometimes as a universal solution instead of just one specific situation, one intervention. The storm on the sea is a dramatic picture of people panicking. Panic disorders in psychotherapeutic practice can be very challenging, and many people have their panic problems. To the panic situation, Jesus of Nazareth pointed to the practical reality of faith. Faith is the energy of staying calm, because a calm mind is more likely to find a stable outcome. Faith is the energy that focuses on a positive outcome, which is better than throwing yourself into a catastrophe. Faith is the energy of focusing on the strengthening of a good object, the strengthening good presence, the strengthening good image. Faith is the energy of focus on the inner resources of courage. One of the vital givens of human existence, courage. Faith is the energy of staying ready for goodness to be rediscovered, for someone to suddenly be there for us as a calm helper and guide. Faith is the energy of being able to say, in spite of what is happening, we will search for the goodness of life. That we will give renewal, of that energy, renewal of hope, renewal of the spirit of life's possibilities. There is the story of the gospel, way back there, speaking to our situation right here. And so I often go back to the 7 stars of a fully functioning personality, sometimes put forward as the 5 major parts of the personality, 5 factors. I make it 7. And remember, they spell out the word oceanic, the first letter in each case. Openness, compassion, inspiration, a participant in good causes, nurturing, openness, compassion, O for openness, C for compassion, expansiveness, E, affableness, A, nurturing, N, inspiration, I, C for good cause, being part of a good cause. From psychological stress to our adapting capacities, the energy of faith is there. And it leads us then to the enhancement of who you'll be, what you'll be, how you'll cope. the enhancement of what you are and your place in the world. And so I come to the enhancement. We can all pass ourselves over to the minnow existence, to be miniatures of what we might have become. We can become demoralized about life, about people, about ourselves. Enhancement, however, is a word that takes us around the back of all those possibilities. Enhancement is a word that we need to embrace. Take steps to be part of the enhancement of your self-worth, the enhancement of your social relationships, the enhancement of what you are and what you can yet become. Often we just don't give a thought to it. But if we're going to be really good analytic people, we need to stop a moment and say, what does that mean? That we might find our enhancement so that our life is thereby enriched and enhanced. What we see in the best aspects of a relevant faith is a strong sense of developing enhancement of the best in life. The enhancement of our environments, which are continually under threat. The enhancement of human beings constantly under threat of being dehumanized. The enhancement of our best values constantly under threat of being eroded or disregarded. The enhancement of our human communities constantly under threat of losing their essential focus. Enhancement, however, is not only standing opposed to those things, standing opposed to the negatives. Enhancement is a very positive word, a very positive experience. So we need to come onto that level to see that enhancement is lifting us above the negatives. Enhancement is to identify the positives as we live through the psychological stress. What will enhance your life? What will enhance the lives of others? Is there something we can do, something we can be, something we can be part of, be open to, that will be enhancing for ourselves and others? Adaptation capacities are necessary, absolutely necessary in many aspects of our life. We need to study them. We need to speak about them. We need to practice them. They are so important. But enhancement goes further. It carries us into that wider experience of the appreciation of life's possibilities and carrying us towards not only the possibilities, but then the actualities. May you awake to the mystery of being here and enter the quiet immensity of your own presence. May you discover joy and peace. May you receive great encouragement when new frontiers beckon. May you respond to the call of your gift and find the courage to follow your path. There is a prophet of our time, now silent, John O'Donoghue. He spoke of the enhancement to the soul of the world. May you take time to celebrate the quiet miracles that seek no attention. May you experience each day as a sacred gift, woven around the heart of wonder. May you experience each day as a sacred gift, woven around the heart of wonder. That's enhancement.